Yes, the title says right. It is a map tutorial. Drawing a fantasy map is easy. Seriously, guys, let's face it. It gets harder when you learn stuff, when you improve your knowledge, and you start thinking about many aspects. I've been a lot on this topic, trying to figure out what was the best resource I could give you. And I came out with 5 points, and today we are going to see each one of them. Yeah, you can tell that's not my comfort zone. I don't like teaching people how to, even if I really love sharing. And so it's time to wear my glove and let's draw. There's a question I often receive, and is where do I begin? So let's say usually we have two different scenarios. The first one is when you got everything clear in your mind. You know exactly what you are going to draw. The second scenario is what we are going to do today. Approach it without any thought. In this tutorial, we are going to use only two brushes. The first one is the opacity. It goes darker when you press more, while the second brush will be based on your pressure. As you can see, you can go from thin to thick. Yes, I like it. And that, trust me, is all you need. So I have this frame layer at the moment, so I know how much space I need to fill. I lock it and I create a new layer. So now we are starting our map. Let me talk about something that I see as an issue, which can occur sometimes. Usually beginners try to take as much space as they can, but I want to talk about it. Let's say we want to make a huge continent, and we try to use all the room we have. And even if this scenario can be appropriate for some situations, it doesn't mean that we should use all the room every time. If there's something I love about drawing maps is that we can find weird shapes, which is also something that occurs in real life. So please, don't do this. So I know at this point you will ask me if there is a good way to start. So let me go to point number 1. Every start is a good start. It doesn't matter if you have a clear idea in your mind, it doesn't matter if you just have a concept. Everything you need to focus on is that your map needs to be clear. My suggestion is always start with the main focal points. Let's say we have a capital city in the north and a small town just nearby. Far away, we might have another capital city and another village. Maybe we have a middle town and more location you can visit. Where do I go from there? One useful point you can keep in your mind is every bigger location needs to have resources. It could be water, woods, minerals. We can have a bay in this area. Now that we know the main water source, we can think about different locations, different resources. What about if we split those cities? You cannot walk through them. Maps should tell you a story. In this situation, you know you cannot cross the two cities without bumping into the mountain range. Maps do tell a story. I won't go too much in details about world building for this tutorial, but I might talk about it one day. We have more water source coming down from the mountains. So far, what can we tell about this map? We know two things for sure: where water sources are, we know where cities are, and we also know which locations are connected somehow. And talking about resources, let's pick green to mark some areas, spread some forest around. Just an example of a situation where you can build around, you have your cities right here, and you got to cross this road to reach each location. But what happens when you have obstacles? You will just adapt everything to fit your story, and the story changes in the way you draw it. So far we've seen 2 points. Point 1, every start is a good start. Point 2, shape a story. Remember that each element of your map will tell a story. So now keep everything we said in mind and let's sketch something more. Okay, I think we got a good starting point. As you can see, I tried to use as much as I could of the space without keeping a rectangular shape because I want my map to be interesting. I want to show some diversity. I want to keep a good balance thinking about the negative space. We got a sketch. What now? Hear me out. You cannot skip this step. Repeat after me. Trust the process. I said it right. Trust the process. That's the only thing you need to do sometimes. Please, 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 I beg you. Trust the process. I know it's hard. I feel you. I'm like you. Sometimes I draw and I don't like what I'm drawing until I'm done. So if you feel stuck, don't throw everything away. Just trust the process. But we also know imposter syndrome hits hard. So trust the process. Step number 3. I need 3 folders. One is for the background, one is for the landmass, and one is for frame and texture. I need to change colors. It really gives me peace. Let me just add a couple of layers for each folder so I can move faster. Yeah, I know. I got a problem with the symmetrical tool, but then I love it. It's so easy. You can do everything in one move. Look, so smooth. This step is not really necessary, but since I'm sharing with you what I love doing, let's go with it. Now, texture folder, make 2 layers. Have an overlay and a multiply. Use a lighter color on the overlay and a darker color on the multiply. It will help you give some texture to the map. Let's set the frame apart for a moment and let's focus on the line art. Just make sure that you go all the way through the canvas, don't leave any kind of space. If there's something we can say about making the line art is that you can play with the flow. Let's say we have some sand in this area, you don't need to be all squiggly, you can be smooth. And the same way you can be smooth because of sand, can be a bit more messy when you have a rocky area. Something else really helpful when you draw on line art is keeping in mind where you will place mountains. I can go all the way up, or I can draw a small end for my mountains. This way it will be easier for me to place things later. So let me take my magic wand and select everything that is not a landmass. Invert my selection and create land layer. Apply a mask. Alright, welcome back. Sorry, but I just need to rest my eyes. Don't forget to make long pauses when you draw and sometimes stretch a bit. Let's move on to the point, and it is make it clear. Let's go to our sketch. We got rivers and mountains. I want them to be perfectly clear. How to achieve it? Just start with simple shapes. As I've mentioned before, we are shaping a story. We are trying to tell a story. We need to make it clear what we are showing. Always start simple. I understand that's really out to basic, but think about it. We can move on and make fancy shaped mountains. We can make hyper detailed maps. The truth is that whatever you try to draw needs to be clear. Let's make an example. Let me zoom in. We can have something like this, right? Or you can go with something like this. What do you think is easier to be seen? Yeah, let's stay simple. I know you saw it. Here, I could have closed the outline this way, but I want to give some depth, and that's the reason why I have this kind of peak going over the line. You can have your mountains going all the way through. it will be clear, but something fun to do is crossing the edge. And this way you will obtain a sort of overlapping dimension. So now we know where the tallest ranges are, and so we know where the water is flowing from. Do you remember I made a mask in the beginning? And now you will get why. Make sure to select your mask and not your layer. Okay, I made a mistake. All done. Let me add an inner glow. Multiply. Right. So now you should be able to see. So what happens when you work on a mask? It will be much more easier for you to draw your rivers. It will make it easier to move them around, to reshape them or delete them. Since we are not talking about world building, geography, and natural rules, there's not too much I can say about rivers. Of course, my suggestion is to avoid to be too straight. Never mind. And that's it. Now we are ready to finish our line art. Okay, now we need to make forests. Oh yeah, I will draw them by hand. What I'm going to do in this moment is to create a primary shape. I mean, they're so cutie. Just look, I can have a small forest here, right? And that's nice, but what happens when you have a forest touching the feet of the mountains? Oh, pew pew. I don't usually have too much details at the base of the forest. For instance, something useful is to have treetops following the inclination of your mountain, like this. That's not the way I usually draw my forest, but as I said in this tutorial, I want to use just 2 brushes and I want to keep it as simple as possible so that everyone can understand and everyone can apply. Alright, this is gonna take a bit, so let me stop the recording. I will catch you later. I've changed the shape of my trees. I've tried to make something more pine looking in the north and a cloudy shape here. I also make a transition between the 2 types of trees, so this type and this type, or this type, but the concept doesn't change at all. You can have more details going to the edges and a flat empty space in the middle. I'm letting my treetop line to define what the forest is. Filling your forest and creating more details can also help you to highlight rivers. Let's say I want to create a river here. And let's say that I still want to keep the river and I also want to keep the forest. I can detail the treetop to create a visual line to describe where the river is going. In the beginning of this video, I mentioned 5 steps. The first one is every start is a good start. The second step is shape a story. It means everything you draw will tell a story, so keep it in mind. The third point is trust the process. Please trust the process. The third point is make it clear. You have your idea, you're shaping a story, you are fully confident in the process, but still, you need to take a step back and question yourself, will people understand what I'm representing? And this is why we are going to the final step, which is make it obvious. Listen, we're still talking about fantasy maps, so I want you to exaggerate, use colors, values, shapes, and do everything in your power to upgrade your map. That's one of the most funny part of drawing maps. Where do we start? I'm starting with making obvious colors. I can do the same work with my trees, and I can change their colors to make them more visible. Create a new layer just underneath the line art. and I've picked a color I can use to highlight my mountains. Oh yeah, I'm taking a smudge, so I said I was going to use only 2 brushes, but I failed. I lied! Let's fix the color. And yes, let's add some more shades. Back to the ocean, I need my outline. Here, you can use the outline all the way around, or you can use it to create some depth. Like here, I'm not going to show if it sits behind. I could do it, but I don't want to. We can move the sketch out, create a new layer with the same shape of the landmass, light and shadow. Now go and take a darker color, multiply, and let's move on. And here we go, the shadow drop will help you to give a sense of depth. And yes, of course, don't forget about the forest. Try to stay as consistent as possible, with shadows and without shadows. I think at this point it's pretty clear that I'm just showing you how to basic by Ren. This is my process, this is what I do, and I'm trying to show everything I can in a single video. However, my full process usually takes more time. I really enjoy making small, tiny details because I think they can make a difference. Now we need some light too. Pick a light color, add a new layer, set it on color dodge, and have fun. Oh my god, that's a kind of speed run. Don't do it, Tom. Don't forget to apply lights on every part of your drawing. Now let's go back to shading. There's something that not everybody think about when drawing maps, but I like to have a bigger shadow drop. Let me show you. I mean, does it look any different to you? Sorry, but I want it to be more textured. Alright, that's fine so far. Still, I think I want the north to be more obvious. Wrong layer. I made a mistake. I don't know why some people do not consider to make a rendering for lights, because this is the map without lights and this is the map with lights. Just a saying. Right, let's face it, this tutorial cannot be complete since we are not talking about world building today. But still, I think you need to enter in the mindset what kind of information you want to share. You know everything right is in your head. Don't forget that when you draw a map, you need to communicate something. A map burns to tell people how to navigate the world. So again, make it obvious, make it clear. You don't need anything else, because yeah, we care about it being fun, but don't forget to make it also functional. So this was the sketch. I need to put my icons and the roads and I'll be done. So let's go. I forgot to add an island. I'm now connecting everything I can. To highlight more the icons, so I will use an inner glow. So what are you waiting for? Just go draw your map. Seriously. We can talk about how to approach drawing, we can talk about what is essential to be found on a map, but you should not forget There are a lot of knowledge and notion you should care about. And I will leave you some resources here in the description box, and those are from different cartographers. Don't forget to leave them a follow. And if you have enjoyed this video and you learned something, why don't you just say hi in the comments or leave a comment with the map emoji. And that's it! We're done. I'm finished. Don't stop watching, there is nothing to say.